Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Tesla Time News.
Episode 122.
On Now You Know. So our show is brought to you today by our wonderful Patreons. And we are sponsored by Dashlane. Do you shop online, Jesse?
I do.
Did you know that checking out becomes hassle-free with Dashlane? No matter what device you use, phone, tablet, laptop, desktop, Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, doesn't matter. Try a free 30-day trial and check it out for yourself. We'll discuss it more later in the show. So go to Dashlane/NowYouKnow and get 10% off Dashlane Premium for 1 year. And before we get into our regular stories, Jesse and I do a live stream every month on Patreon. If you're a Patreon member at the $8 or more perk level, you can join us. This month it's going to be January 19th. So go check it out on Patreon.
So now that the full federal tax credit of $7,500 for Tesla has been cut in half for the next 6 months, Tesla is helping customers by cutting prices across their 3 car models, the S, 3, and X, by $2,000.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, I did a little bit of math because people had been saying in the media, oh, this is really going to hurt Tesla because no more full tax credit. So I found out that over 51% of Americans earn $40,000 and under. So if you do their federal taxes for the year, it's going to come out to under $4,000, which means they weren't going to get the full tax credit anyway. So if you think about it, for a lot of people this year, they're actually going to get a bigger reduction from the cars than they would have last year.
And so let's talk about why. So let's say I wasn't able to benefit from the full $7,500 tax credit. The amount that I would have paid in taxes this year would not equal $7,500.
Right.
If I bought a Tesla, I would get all my taxes paid for, and that's great. But there would probably be a few $1,000s of tax credit that I wouldn't be able to reap the benefits of because and that means that the amount that you'd get back in your refund check would not be $7,500. It would be, less than $4,000 if you earn less than $40,000 a year, which we said the majority of Americans do.
Right. I mean, you're actually getting $5,750 off the car.
And so that's because you have the price cut from Tesla.
Yep.
So you get $2,000 off, and then you're most likely going to get the full $3,750 from the government. That's off of your taxes, which means that you're going to basically benefit the most you probably can from your taxes and get that $2,000 price cut from Tesla. Some people might be like, aren't the people, Jesse, aren't the people who bought the car for $2,000 more upset? And I think this is where the $2,000 comes into play. Really smart, because for the people who make enough money to get that full tax credit, $7,500 tax credit, they're most likely going to not be afraid in buying it ahead of time.
Okay.
And so they're going to be reaping that benefit, that full $7,500 tax credit. Whereas, people who are waiting to get the car, probably the $35,000 car, the more modestly priced car, are still going to get quite a bump, but they're not going to get a full $7,500 off.
I do want to remind everyone that you've only got 6 months, though, to get the $3,750, and then it's going to be cut in half again. All right, so let's take a look at Tesla's Q4 production numbers, which they released recently. So they delivered 90,700 cars in the quarter, and they produced 86,555. Now, wait, how'd they deliver more than they produced?
You have some in inventory.
Okay. So they had them sitting in
and
the
they
lot.
sold, at the end of the quarter to get that, take advantage of the tax credit. They were pulling out all the stops. They're selling show models, models that, you would take for test drives, everything.
We heard about people who went in and bought it that day, got the car that day. That's about 1,000 deliveries per day that they were selling in the quarter. And that's an 8% increase over Q3, which was already an amazing quarter. So if we look at the deliveries, about 63,000 Model 3s, that's 13% growth over Q3. 13,500 Model S's, and then, which was interesting to me, more Model X's than Model S's this quarter, 14,050. So Model X still a very popular car. So they delivered in 2018 245,240 vehicles.
Wow.
Almost 250,000 vehicles delivered in 2018.
Wow.
Of that number, 145,846 were Model 3s, 99,394 were Model S's and X's. To put Tesla's growth into perspective, Tesla delivered almost as many vehicles in 2018 as they did in all prior years combined.
Wow. I mean, that is staggering.
I mean, look at this first chart here. Now, this is from our friend Galileo Russell over at Hyperchange, wearing his T-shirt. Because remember that conference call where Elon was so tired of the analysts, and he's like, let's go to YouTube.
Right.
And then talk to Gally for like 20 minutes.
Right. And I mean, Gally's a great YouTuber. He's a friend of ours. You should go check him out. We'll put a thing to his channel up over there.
Anyway, if you haven't heard of Hyperchange, the YouTube channel, if you haven't heard of Gally, you need to check him out. He has amazing content and amazing analysis of what's going on with companies that are changing the world, including Tesla. So if we look at this first slide from Gally, we see that Model 3 ramping went from practically nothing, 1,550 Model 3s back in 2017. And then you look at the next year, 145,000 plus cars. That's unbelievable.
Right.
So if we look at this next slide here, this is by month, and you can see that basically once they got production figured out by the end of the year, those last 6 months, they were just rolling. And this last month, December, crazy.
Super crazy. And, a lot of people early on were saying like, oh, the Model 3 ramp, it's never going to happen. They're never going to be able to produce enough vehicles.
They'll only be able to do it for a couple weeks at a time.
Right. This is month after month, and it's not the same number. Everyone I show this graph to is like, well, what happened in those 2 months? It's like, dude, they made a lot of cars.
Right. Okay, so Clean Technica has this chart here of all Tesla sales by quarter. And look at the growth over the last 2 quarters. Incredible. But let's go to Gally's chart, Galileo Russell's from Hyperchange, and he really puts it in perspective here because the yellow in his chart is the Model 3.
Right.
So just take that away for a second and you would have, you'd have nice growth, but add that and you've got S-curve growth.
Oh, absolutely. And we've talked about this before, that the Model 3 doesn't really detract from the Model S and X sales.
Nope.
Which is pretty staggering, considering if you want a long-range electric car that has supercharging, you can only get a Tesla. It's funny that people are still buying the S's and the X's. I think that really shows what strong cars they are.
This is the biggest single-year growth in the history of the automotive industry. Elon's been talking about it before, saying that it could happen. It did happen. And this is 204% year-over-year growth.
It's pretty staggering. I mean,
Do you know what 204% means?
it's more than doubling.
It's 3 times growth.
No. It's 200%. That's 2 times.
No, because 100% is a doubling. 200% is a tripling.
Oh,
It's misleading. That's percentages are weird in that
Wow,
sense.
okay.
Like they don't even give you the full picture. You start to lose once you get above 100%. Like our brains are trained for up to 100%.
because that's what percentage is useful
Right.
for.
Once you get beyond that, it's not. Yeah. So this is a
Right.
tripling
Wow.
year-over-year growth.
Holy crap.
So let's look at this chart here from Clean Technica. Tesla was number 4 in December in U.S. passenger car sales.
Wow. And not, just Tesla. We're talking about just the Model 3.
And let's go further. For 2018, Model 3 was number 11, but remember, it's one of the only luxury cars on this list. The only other one is the Mercedes CLA. So it's competing with way less expensive cars, and yet it's still number 11 for the year.
And if you look at it based on revenue, it's
Even higher.
It almost blows the competition out of the water.
Right. Now, keep in mind, Tesla has no dealer network. They don't have any advertising. It's a completely new technology, and it has nothing but negative press that comes out all the time. And we have predicted it'll be the number 1 selling car in the U.S. by July of 2019.
I think that's really important to point out. All of the things that are going against it. I mean, it's not just like a normal, like, oh, it's a car. It's like, oh, it's a car. I'm going to have to teach you how charging works.
Right.
There's no like vent things. And also
And I
there's
heard
no,
they're
like,
going to go
volume knob.
bankrupt, so I don't think I'll buy
Right,
it.
you're getting all of that, and yet it still perseveres into the number 11th slot. It's insane.
And get this. According to Forbes and Atherton Research, in Q4, Tesla was the top-selling luxury brand in the U.S., outselling BMW by 10,000, Lexus, all of them.
Right, and these are companies that only sell luxury cars and
Right.
have been for a long time.
For decades.
You can't really go out and buy a new cheap Audi or a
Right.
new cheap Lexus. Those don't exist. You can't get like, a Honda Civic level Audi, BMW.
Right.
Those are all luxury cars. Tesla just comes in and grabs that market share. Now, they kind of grab the market share, but they also are bringing people into that level. People like me, I was not about to go out and buy an Audi or a BMW, especially not a brand new one, right? Like I was not doing it. I mean, I was only going to buy an electric car, but ignoring that, I wasn't going to spend money on cars.
You went from a Subaru and a Leaf to
I went from
a
spending,
Tesla.
$5,000 or less on cars, and I went through a couple of them, and then I went up to $8,000 for my Leaf, and then I went to $45,000 for. It's a big leap, and a lot of people have been doing this because of the trade-ins that we've been seeing. A lot of a lot of Honda Civics and Accords, and that is so they're not just taking market share away from these other car brands. They're also creating more market share, which is just theirs.
So speaking of market share, let's take a look at this tweet by Inside EVs. Tesla closes out 2018 by capturing well over 50% of the U.S. plug-in electric car market in terms of sales volume and likely more than 2/3 of the market in terms of revenue.
Wow. That's staggering. And this is just North America.
Right.
This is just the United States and Canada. They haven't even started to tap into Europe. They haven't even started to tap into China. China is a huge market, and they are clamoring for Teslas, and Tesla's going to actually build a factory in China.
Yes.
It's huge. It's really exciting, and for all the people who have been constantly doubting Tesla, this is kind of like another one of those times where you could be like, okay, what are you talking about?
Right.
You're lying to me.
All right, so we talked last week on our Patreon bonus story about Greta Thunberg. She's the Swedish 15-year-old girl who protested every Friday on Parliament steps in Sweden to do more to counteract climate change. Now, she has a terrific TED Talk that just came out a few weeks ago, and I urge every educator watching, every parent watching, to share this TED Talk with your students, with your children. We're going to link it in the show notes below. It's about 11 minutes long. We're just going to show you a quick clip here.
I first heard about something called climate change or global warming. Apparently that was something humans had created by our way of living. I was told to turn off the lights to save energy and to recycle paper to save resources. I remember thinking that it was very strange that humans, who are an animal species among others, could be capable of changing the Earth's climate. Because if we were, and if it was really happening, we wouldn't be talking about anything else.
Anyway, I promise if you watch it, you will watch the entire thing, and you will just be like, I need to talk about this and share it with other people.
Right. She's so eloquent, and it's so much more powerful coming from a 15-year-old girl, someone who became depressed when they were 11 because of climate change.
Right.
You think of children being these sort of carefree, running around. No, she was depressed at 11 because of climate change.
And because she got it, that it's so important, and none of us adults are doing enough about it.
Right. I think that a lot of times children bring up very important, obvious things that as an adult you kind of have to look past in order to live your life. I think just go watch the TED Talk. It's important.
All right, so Jesse and I didn't even really want to bring up the story again. We talked about it last week. These trucks all over the country that are icing the superchargers. One of the reasons we didn't want to bring it up again is we don't want to give them publicity. It's not the kind of thing. It's like when you have a bully in the class, you don't want to give them all of the attention that they're craving.
Right. The good news is, after we talked about it for a little bit, that there aren't too many of those people watching this show, luckily.
True, right.
So that's quite nice.
Right, so they're not feeling like we're giving them a
right,
lot.
because they're watching something else.
Right. But last week I reported to you that a bunch of states had laws on the books, including our home state here in Massachusetts, that made this illegal. Well, I went to check on that law to see what it actually said, and I found out that there is no actual state law prohibiting it. It's a state law allowing the towns in our state to pass their own law. So the state is basically saying, if you want, little town, you can pass your own law against parking an ICE car in an EV slot.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you pull up to a supercharger and let's say where this one was shot in Hadley, Mass, that they will actually have a law on the books there saying they can't do it.
I see. So I'm just trying to think. I've been to a bunch of town meetings for this town, and it's hard to pass anything.
Right.
It's hard to get anything because there are going to be people who are against it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much for someone to be like, I think that's dumb. I don't know if anyone's watched Parks and Recreation. All the scenes where they're talking to the public, it is hilariously similar to what actual town politics is
Right.
like.
I mean, democracy is the worst, best form of government you can have. I mean, you can have a dictatorship and things go much quicker, but I don't think we want that.
So, I mean, I guess you can't necessarily depend on the law to come in and help you. Now,
Right, 'cause-
if they're swearing at you, you have a pretty good case that they're disturbing the peace.
Right,
and
that's assault,
That
right.
It's not good. If we can't depend on the law, guess we're going to have to take the law into our own hands. I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2. Just going to have to man up.
What?
Beat him up. What do you think?
Look, I don't agree. Let's go in a different
okay,
direction.
all right.
I mean, that's the war idea,
Right.
And I don't think we're going to get anywhere with that. I think history has shown that we're just going to create a big mess.
Okay, all right. Okay, you don't fight. You don't punch them, but you key their car. How about that?
Yeah, but let's walk one step next. They're just going to hate all electric vehicles from then on, and they're
Okay.
going to carry that to the grave. How about this approach? If you see someone who's icing your spot, say to them something like, "Hey, would you like to go for a ride? And I'll show you all about this amazing new technology that we're probably all going to be driving in soon." And now I'm not saying they'll all take you up on it, but if someone does take you up on it and they go for a ride, you've just turned their mind.
Right. I mean, the good news is, if this is happening to you, you're driving a Tesla, and whoever's in the truck and whoever is parking their truck there and trying to be a jerk to Tesla drivers probably doesn't have a full picture of what a Tesla is. They know that rich people drive them because they're very expensive, and they know that they park at these things, and they probably have some vague notion that Tesla is bad. But I mean, yes, it's going to be hard to get them in the passenger seat, but if you
It may not be.
if you get them in the passenger seat and you floor it, I think that most people have a very positive reaction to that. I think that once you floor it, it's going to open their mind because they've only experienced that in a roller coaster.
And I mean, Jesse and I are just saying this because we've done it so many times.
I've taken so many people for test rides. Everyone is excited about it. Even though I get used to the acceleration, not entirely. In my Model 3, maybe a little bit. No one else has ever experienced it if they've never been in a Tesla before. So that is the key. They're going to be pretty open-minded, and you just start talking.
Exactly.
Talk to the points that they care about.
Right.
If they're driving a Silverado, Chevy Silverado, or Chevy
just
Ford,
talk about the Tesla pickup truck that's coming.
talk about the Tesla pickup truck. Talk about how Tesla is an American car company.
Yep.
It's,
Made in America.
Now, for you Canadians out there and for you Europeans, this isn't really a problem for you guys. Canadians are far too polite.
Well, and soon there'll be a gigafactory in China, and there'll probably be a gigafactory in Europe. So
it's true. And I'm also saying Europeans are very polite, and also there are no European pickup trucks.
Right.
No one
that
knows.
we know of.
When we say F-150, everyone in Germany is like, I don't
talking
know what
about a
you're
plane?
talking-
Right.
Yeah, no one knows what we're talking about.
Our friend Dima was in Jingqiao Service Center in Shanghai a few days ago, and he sent us this video update.
Hi, I can Jesse. So we are at the Jingqiao Tesla service. That's the biggest Tesla service in Shanghai. And as workers, I wanted to arrange the interview with the employee here, but they said that they can't do it. They are not allowed to. But the information I got from them is the following. So this Model 3 has been delivered here 2 days ago, only 2 days ago, and the pre-orders Chinese in China are going to be open on the 1st of January next year. But they also are not like 100% sure. They are saying that they probably, as the most likely, they're going to open pre-orders at that time. And I've also found out the prices. So a dual motors Model 3 is going to cost here 500,000 RMB, and performance Model 3 going to cost 550,000 Chinese yuan. Yeah, so now you know. Bye bye.
How lucky are we that we now have a network of people around the world that can give us updates? And it turns out he's exactly right. Tesla just opened their Chinese ordering to Chinese market. So now people in China can order the Model 3.
Now, I can hear what a lot of people are thinking. And it might not necessarily be you, but it's probably someone. They're saying, like, why? Like, are they going to be delivering cars to China so soon? Possibly. But even if they're not delivering them, like, next week or the week after, even if it's a couple months, it means that they can be a lot more efficient when they're creating cars.
Very good point.
We know that the paint shop at Tesla has to be, like, meticulously cleaned before and after they do the red color.
Right, gotta switch it out. Mhm.
So if you know that you need, 8,000 red Model 3 performances, you can say, all right, next week, we're just going to be making red Performance Model 3s all week. So the paint shop can just stay red.
No, you're absolutely
and-
right. This is a data grab. This is so that Tesla knows, oh, okay, what do people around the world want, so we can make their shipments as efficient as possible.
It's true.
Whereas the traditional big auto companies, they have to basically just pump a lot of cars out onto dealers' lots. And that becomes a whole lot of cars that nobody really wants, that color combination or that,
Right. If you're a dealer and you're like, no one likes the lime green color, or no,
And basically the auto manufacturer's like, you got to sell it.
you have to
mark
sell
it down, sell it,
keep
move
se-
it.
Yeah, lower the price until you're making nothing.
Right.
And then we'll get them on the service, of course.
Right.
Tesla, complete opposite. What color would you like? What performance package would you like? Oh, what kind of seats would you like? They can create as demand comes in,
Yeah.
which means that they have very little inventory.
No other dealer does it this way.
Right.
Like, can I just point that out? It's just one of the many things that Tesla does differently. They don't have a dealer network.
Right.
All right, so let's take a look at this car, Jesse. This is the Polestar 2, which will be Volvo's first all-electric car. It is going to be designed to run on Google's native version of Android Auto.
Cool. Can we get another picture of it? This has been up for a while.
Nope, that's all they're showing us, but they have told us some things about it. It's going to have a range of about 300 miles on a full charge. It's going to have 400 horsepower electric motors. It'll be a four-door fastback style.
Now, what's fastback?
It's a lot like the Model S.
Okay, so
it's a hatchback.
sloped
It's a-
back, but the whole back kind of opens up. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So a lot like the Model S. It'll be in the Model 3 price range. That's their quote. So I don't know if that means 35,000 or if that means 55,000. We don't know.
Or 73,000.
Or 73,000.
Who knows, you know?
It'll go into production later this year. And let's keep in mind that their first car, the Polestar 1, is a $150,000 hybrid sports car. And that's going to enter production in a few months. But only 500 will be built.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll have to see when they start making them. I'm excited. I'm a little worried.
What are you worried about?
A lot of traditional car manufacturers don't necessarily have the battery, infrastructure ready for mass production of EVs. That's all I'm saying, But we haven't heard anything bad yet, so that's a good sign.
Yeah. So here's a story from the newsroom. And you know about our newsroom.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the coolest thing. We have, what are we up to? Like 80 people
Yeah.
from around the world.
Yeah. 15 time zones.
Yeah. Constantly finding interesting stories, sharing it with us, and we're able to pick out the coolest bits of news that we would have never found.
Yeah, like this one. So this is a story from Australia that I totally missed last November because we have so many stories in there. Coles, which is a supermarket chain in Australia, they are suing the Australian tax office for $40 million because here's what they claimed. They have all this fuel because they have these express supermarket stations where they do fueling and food.
Okay.
And so they paid for all this gasoline and they paid the taxes on it, but then 107 million liters of it evaporated between 2014 and 2017. So their argument is, well, we never got to deliver this to the customer, so why should we pay tax on it?
107 million liters
Yeah.
of gasoline?
Yeah, so most of the story goes into money, like how much money they'll make and blah, blah, blah. But Jesse and I looked at the story and we're like, wait a minute. 107 million liters of gasoline just evaporated. Where did it go? So
Right.
it either leaked into the ground or it's the gasoline that evaporates out of those tanks. And as we've reported before, it's a lot more than you think.
Yeah.
So we did some calculations here. There are 685 express gas stations that belong to Kohl's. And this happened over 4 years. So we did the math. That would mean that there's 39,051 liters of gasoline evaporating per store per year. So then Jesse and I looked at 39,000 liters and we're like,
How big? To put that into perspective, that is about as big as a full-size shipping container.
right.
So fill that full of gasoline and then just
Evaporate it.
Evaporate it.
Okay, but then we said, we know how much that is in liquid volume, but it went into the air. So now we care about it in gaseous volume.
All right, so I mean, it's a little complicated, but if you were to take that shipping container size thing full of gasoline and you were to evaporate it all at once, which doesn't happen in this case, but you were to evaporate it all at once into a concentration where it could explode, you would have the same volume as 2.5 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Okay, and this is just
Volume
one location
and that's
in 1
like-
year.
That would be like an explosive volume. Now, obviously, it
Does it over time.
does it over time, and it also is constantly diluting.
Okay.
But if you live close to it,
Right.
you're
You're breathing
just,
it.
You're just constantly getting
And
that.
here's the thing. We only found out about this because of a lawsuit.
Right, because they want $40 million in taxes back.
Right. And they care more about that than they do about admitting that all this gasoline went into the air. And I just want you to think, this is just one tiny chain in one country.
Right.
So think about all the gas stations out there evaporating all this gasoline into your lungs.
Right. Now, I mean, there might be a glimmer of hope, which is that this gasoline never got burned, and so therefore never got converted into CO2, but it did probably pollute the air and groundwater around it. So that's not great.
At least they're naming these stations the correct thing. They are gas stations.
So check this out. This is from Hyundai and Kia. They work together to create this wireless charging plan for the future.
Yeah, check this out. They said, upon commanding the vehicle to charge using a smartphone, the vehicle will automatically cruise to a vacant wireless charging station. When the vehicle is fully charged, it will relocate to another vacant parking space using the automated valet parking system, AVPS, allowing other vehicles to charge at the spot. When the driver calls for the vehicle, it will then autonomously return to the location of the driver. That's awesome.
Cool. That's great.
This is great that they're working on this stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It is coming out in 2025. So
what?
you take that with a grain of salt.
2025.
Yeah, right. Like after, 2025, just it's hard to picture because that's 6 years from now.
Okay, so what's going to happen by 6 years?
Well, we're going to already have our Roadster. We'll probably have started to meet
right.
people in our Roadster. Actually, I mean,
we'll be done.
we'll probably be done. We'll already have the semi truck.
Oh, yeah.
The Tesla pickup truck will probably be out. The Model
Yeah.
Y.
Yeah.
Rivian's truck is probably going to be there.
Yeah.
Boring will probably...
There'll be tunnels built.
There'll probably be tunnels already built.
Yeah.
The Starship will already have orbited the moon with passengers, artists. And we're definitely going to have a new president. So, I mean, there's a lot of new and exciting things to be excited about for 2025.
And then they'll come out with...
And then they're going to come out with this cool, charging pad.
I was trying to be positive about it. It's
It's-
just they push things off so far. And
It's-
that's just... I mean, this is just a drawing that they came up. Like, Jesse and I could
Right.
have made this drawing ourselves.
And I want to ask you, what things do you plan out 6 years in advance? Well, in your life, I mean, for those of you who don't know, and we're going to talk about this later, we just came out with Mind Walk, which
Oh, right.
Zach did a great job on. And in that, he talks about the 5-year plan. 5-year plan is good because in 5 years, you can generally get to where you want to. 6 years is well outside of the 5-year plan. What in your life have you planned for 6 years in advance?
Yeah, I know.
No, I mean, maybe if you're building a castle,
Right.
I think that's even then. If like, sire, what sort of grog should we bring for the opening ceremony?
6 years from now.
Right, you'd be like, I don't know, figure it out when we get there.
Agreed.
It's like
just say you're going to do it next year. Like, just
also,
do it.
Give us some electric cars, please.
You won't even have the same engineers working for you in 6 years.
Exactly.
They'll all be working for some other company.
Tesla.
All right, it's time for the lightning round. John Ehrlichman put together these figures. So this first list he came up with shows you how much revenue is generated each hour by these big companies that we know of, like Netflix, Tesla, Facebook. So I want you to look at this. Netflix, down the bottom, makes $1.8 million an hour. Then I decided, let's add their market cap. So Brent, Bobby, let's add to this list their market cap. So Netflix is worth $130 billion. This way we can kind of see this is how much you make every hour. This is how much the market values your company.
Okay.
And remember, market cap is the price of your stock times the number of shares. So that's what the world thinks your company is worth.
Yep.
So looking at this, do you see anything wrong? So look at the company at the top there. There's Apple. They make $30.7 million an hour, and they're valued at about $1 trillion, right? And as we go down the list, the numbers seem to make some sense, right? Amazon's makes a little less per hour. They're worth a little less.
Right.
And we go down.
You kind of have this little blip around Facebook of $408 billion in market cap, whereas it makes less than Disney.
Right.
But then you have Tesla at $56 billion market cap when it makes more than Netflix, and yes, it makes less than Facebook, but I think that probably it should be worth double.
Yeah, I mean, look at Facebook for a second there. I mean, Tesla is worth roughly 1/8 of Facebook, and yet it makes about 1/3 of Facebook. So it's, in my opinion, vastly undervalued if you look at it by revenue.
Right, and if you think about it in terms of growth, Facebook has basically got everyone on it.
Right.
Yeah, there's not much going up from there.
Unless aliens land and they need a new social
Right, or
platform.
unless we have this like amazing fertility bloom or something like
Right.
some fribbles or something.
Exactly. They're pretty much maxed out.
And Tesla has like a fraction of a percentage of the market,
Right.
and it's already exploding.
And I just want to point out, there was a company that wasn't on the list, and
Right.
you and I decided to add it. This is the largest oil company in the world, Saudi Aramco. They make $53.1 million an hour.
Right.
And they
they're
are worth
$2 trillion.
Yeah. Now, while we're talking about stock, David Einhorn, he's a big short seller. Do you remember him, Jesse? He runs Greenlight Capital. His
Right.
biggest holding was a short holding in Tesla. That means he thinks Tesla's going down. So let's look at how they did in 2018.
Wow, he must have done great because that's the Tesla chart, right?
No. That's the Greenlight Capital chart. They started the year at $21.45 a share. They ended the year at $8.36 a share. That's a 60% drop.
So if I invested my money in Greenlight Capital,
You lost 60% of it this year. Let's look at Tesla, which again is his biggest holding,
Right.
except he's negative
It's a
on
short
it. He's a
holding,
short
yeah,
holding.
okay.
So Tesla started the year at $3.16 a share, ended the year up at $3.33 a share.
wow, so Tesla went up and he went down by 60%.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what can you, like, if your job is to make money, right?
Uh-huh.
You run a hedge fund and you lost 60% in 1 year. What is that phone call like when you're calling your investors to tell them to give them some more money? Like, hey, you want to invest some more with me this year? I think he's going to be driven out of town. Like, he
Yeah,
has to find more new work.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to go in like witness protection or
I think like a carny at the carnival.
right, Antarctic explorer maybe,
Yeah, maybe a diver.
like
Like,
French Foreign Legion.
I think maybe an astronaut, just get off the planet altogether.
You really have to be good at your job to be an
Hey,
astronaut.
he'd be a very good seesaw operator.
Why?
He's good at just up and down, up and down.
He's good at down.
He's good at down. He'd be on the downside. He'd just wait till everyone has to come down.
okay.
So while we're on that, let's just look at how auto stocks did in 2018. So this is a chart here from Charlie Bilello, and well, let's just see how everyone did.
Ooh, that's a downward-ish looking trend there.
Wait a minute. They're all negative. Toyota's down, GM, Fiat, Nissan, Volkswagen. They're all down. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. Nope. One's up.
One's up? Which one?
Tesla, up by 7%. If you look at those trend lines, other than Tesla's trend line, even though everything goes up and down, they're all generally trending down. So what I'm saying is it's not that there was one big correction and it pulled all these stocks down. They were coming down all year long.
Right.
And they're all of the auto manufacturers. We're not picking on one or two companies here. These are all the big companies, and they're all headed down.
Right.
And I'm not saying that everyone in the world is a fan of Tesla. So I think that's because generally auto dealers who are making ICE cars are in trouble. Mm-hmm. For those of you in Europe, you're getting pretty excited, right? Because your configurators are open. You can start ordering your Teslas. So I want to thank Terj from our newsroom. He's in Norway, and he sent us this link to this really cool website that shows you all the orders and what countries they're coming from in Europe. So you can check out like how they're configuring their cars and what countries they're coming from. Norway is number one.
Obviously. But, I mean, really exciting. And we're already up to 14,000 orders.
Yeah, and that's $1 billion.
Wow. I mean, that's insane.
Some good news in New South Wales. The state government in New South Wales, Australia, recently approved a $1 billion, that's Australian dollars, 900 megawatt solar farm at Yarrabee Park near Narendera. It should be online by 2020, generating enough power, forget this, 315,000 households.
Wow. That's almost 1 million people.
It's going to create about 450 construction jobs, and almost 9 gigawatts of renewable generation and battery storage technology is expected to enter the grid in Australia over the next 4 years.
Wow.
So you know how the big argument against going to a clean economy is that it's going to kill jobs?
Yeah.
Well, according to Guillermo Montt, who authored a UN study, our findings show that if we take action to limit climate change, we will have more jobs by 2030 than by not doing anything. More jobs will be created than those that are lost, so the economy and countries as a whole stand to gain. Now, the study found that accelerating the transition to clean energy could add 24 million jobs globally by 2030.
He said also there are more jobs in a world with renewables and energy efficiency because we need more workers to produce 1 gigawatt hour of electricity from renewables than from fossil fuels.
And I didn't know this, but GM just hit their federal tax credit threshold. So you know how when you hit the 200,000 mark on selling electric cars, then the federal tax credit gets reduced 2 quarters later? Mm-hmm. That just happened to GM. So their phase out is going to start in April. So Stena Recycling is a company in Norway, and they are the first in the world to be using 2 new electric trucks.
That's not that new.
Well, what's new about it is that these are 50-ton trucks.
Oh,
They can
okay.
carry a capacity of up to 30 tons each.
Wow.
Yeah, these are made by the Dutch company EMOS BV, and the range is about 150 kilometers fully loaded. They have a 300 kilowatt hour battery. Now, they cost a lot. They cost about $500,000 each. But the Norwegian government is covering about 40% of the cost.
Wow.
They create 8 times less CO2 per kilometer than their competition. So they save 330 tons per year each.
Wow.
That's the equivalent of about 200 flights from Norway to Thailand each every year.
Wait, so each truck.
Each truck. They're way quieter, and they're 8 times cheaper to fuel, because the average diesel truck doing this would have to use 120,000 liters of diesel each year. Oh, and also they're cheaper to maintain. And a big thank you to Ruben in our newsroom for this chart from OECD on how much of your country's waste is sent to landfill, that's the pink bar, versus incineration with energy recovery, that's the dark green bar, versus material recovery, which is recycling, versus the dark red, which is incineration without energy recovery. So let's take a look here and just let's choose the United States. So we send about 55% of our waste to landfill.
Yeah.
We have 10% incineration with energy recovery, and then we have 35% material recovery, so recycling. Not great. Could be a lot better.
Yep.
Look at Switzerland.
Wow. Switzerland is just about 50-50 on the recycling and incineration with energy recovery.
Yeah, versus the other end of the scale where it's 100% landfill.
It's still not 100% like recycled.
Recycling,
though.
yeah.
I mean, that would be the goal.
So this is what Christmas was like in Changsha, Hunan, China.
Oh my God. How many Model X's is that?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And they're all white.
How did they get them all to go at the exact same time?
Well, except for that guy right there.
Okay, well, except for Steve or whatever. I'm just saying, like, because we've tried doing this before with like two.
I have
and
no idea.
They were not in the same thing.
I know, it's incredible. Like, they're all exactly lined up, and it's up and down the line. Did you know that when Elon Musk was a kid, he wrote computer games for this new thing called a desktop computer?
No, I didn't know that.
He actually wrote a program when he was 12 years old. It had 167 lines of code. It was called Blastar, and it made him $500. He sold it to a magazine in South Africa. Turns out the code for that was made public, and so someone turned it into HTML code, and so you can actually play this online. Here you're watching it being played.
I mean, $500 in 1984.
Yeah, that's big money.
Holy
I
crap!
mean, he was a rich teenager.
But I mean, like, okay, so you shoot the thing, whatever.
Yeah, but this is 1984.
Okay.
Okay, well, check this out. Jumpman here by IBM, the biggest software company in the world at the time, they wrote this software at the same time that Elon wrote his. Let's get Blastar in Teslas. Like, you sit there and be able to play Blastar. I think that would be a great homage to the creator of the company. All right, it's time for our video contributor story. What do we got this week?
We have Tim from Hamburg in Germany. He's visiting a Model 3.
Hello, Zach and Jesse. Many greetings from Hamburg, Germany, at Jungfernstieg. That is close to the Tesla store, Große Bleichen. So one of the Tesla stores in Hamburg. There's the Model 3. This will be the first time I see a Model 3 in person and touch it. With the background you can see they build up the Christmas market. So I'm here 50 minutes prior opening. I expected a queue at this time, but there isn't. But I could see the Model 3 in the background. I tried to walk a little bit to warm up because it's almost freezing point. Yeah, so welcome in Hamburg. I was in the store for an hour because I went here on Friday morning and here's nobody. I had the possibility to watch the Model 3 in detail. It's the American version. You see there's no queue. They said, okay, Friday afternoon there will be a queue and get fuller. Probably on Saturday too. I forgot the best thing is I got a Model 3 sticker. And back to you, Zach and Jesse.
Awesome. I love to see how excited people are in Europe. I mean, it's easy to forget because we now have the Model 3 here, that it's so exciting for the new markets that are just going to be getting them soon. So yeah, I'm so excited for you guys. All right, it's time for our Patreon bonus stories. If you're new to the channel, you may not know what we're talking about. You go over to Patreon, you pay us $1 a month, and you get to watch all of these cool stories that we're about to talk about. It's like, what is it? Like a quarter
Patreon bonus stories show.
Oh, and then there's multiple stories. Like this week we got like 8.
So I mean,
it's like
pennies.
3 cents a story.
It's less than you'd pay for a newspaper.
Yeah.
I
So
think.
head on over. All right, so we just got through with our Model 3 tip of the week, which you can see before everyone else on Mondays instead of waiting till Wednesdays if you become a Patreon. So it's time now for our Patreon shout-outs, where we give shout-outs to people who give us $5 or more a month, and then their name goes on to the end credits at the end of the show. So who do we got this week, Jess?
We have Hunter Mering,
Stefan Bush,
Miles Lugo,
James Anderson,
Ole Kayer,
Justin Wood,
Tony Johnston,
Frank Pleschmidt,
Robert Fessler,
Randy Saxton,
Gordon Lowe,
James Kavanaugh Jr.,
Trey Moffat,
Inigo Smith,
John Denton,
and Oliver Latinier.
Thank you so much for supporting the show. We can't do this level of content without the Patreon support.
All right, it's time for Elon's tweets of the week. Elon started a possible business deal over Twitter. So get this. So Ove said, Elon, why is Tesla not in Singapore? Elon said, government has been unwelcome. Singapore has enough area to switch to solar battery and be energy independent. Then, further down, Min Liang Tan, who's the CEO of Razer, which is a big computer company, said, I've got a building in Singapore coming up in 2020. Happy to get solar battery outfit there to test showcase it. Elon said,
Sounds great. We'll connect you with Tesla Energy. By the way, like your gaming equipment.
Min Lang said, I'm a big fan of your work at Tesla. Clearly, we both have good taste. Awesome. Let me know. I'll pull in the Singapore government folk to check it out too. Then he said, at Lee Hsien Loong, who is the Prime Minister of Singapore. So get this, in this one little conversation, Tesla is going to potentially be building out solar and battery in Singapore to show the government that it is a good thing. And this CEO of a company pulled in the Prime Minister. They just...
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exciting. And it shows why it's kind of cool to have Elon on Twitter.
Yeah. His next tweet here, Falcon 9 on Launchpad with Crew Dragon and new astronaut walkway.
Right. That's a cool looking walkway. Check out what's at the end of it. I don't think that's really at the end of it. It really looks photoshopped in. You know what?
I think you still have to be taller than that. Don't you?
It's fun. That's really, really fun to, take something as serious as space travel and make it entertaining.
And exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah. And then kids' imagination could be like, wow, that could be me on that walkway someday.
You're like,
except darn, I'm not
it's
tall
like
enough
a ride.
yet.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, it's time for Community Mail Time. We got a bunch this week. Our friend Adam shared this photo he took of the Tesla showroom in Abu Dhabi. Right next to it, I noticed, though, is Ford. So I'm thinking maybe Tesla can take over that building when Ford goes bankrupt. This is Eric's new Model 3. Our friend Eric in Minnesota got his Model 3 right before the new year.
Nice. Get that tax credit.
And here's our friend Dima in China. Check this out.
Ni hao, Zach and Jesse, check this small baby, small electric beast. You see, and sometimes you can arrange the charging for your small vehicle without infrastructure itself. You can just plug it in directly from your apartment. Yep, that's how it is here. And as you see, there is plenty of these small cars here.
Like 14 extension cords.
It's like 3 power strips.
Yeah.
That's not
Do you know-
weatherproof.
Do you know how much energy loss is happening between the house and the car? Our friend Magnus, he is called the Tesla Swede on YouTube. he has a fix for Spotify in Europe. So basically, he said if you're having trouble getting your Spotify working in your Tesla, try changing the language on the car settings and restarting, and your Spotify should work. And here's a video. We'll put the link down below where you can go and check out his whole video about it. And really helpful. Remember, a few months ago, you talked to Scott in California. He's been converting his company's fleet of vans into electric. Check this out. Here's one of them. 100% electric van powered by the sun.
Wow. So they converted 3 of their vans to fully electric. That is so awesome. Way to go, Scott.
Our friend Dustin in Minnesota is on the track in his Model 3P. Now, as we're watching this, Jesse, should you drive on a track that has snow on it?
He didn't crash.
No.
So
he
I
did a
think
great
there's
job.
your answer.
And then this is our friend Jean Marie at the International Motor Show in Luxembourg, showing off the Model 3. And then our friend Sobi from Avoto tweeted out this cool 1912 advertisement for electric cars. I just like this quote in here. They're quiet, fashionable, simple, and safe. Nothing's really changed since 1912. Well, some things have changed.
I mean, they're pretty darn quick.
All right, it's time for our Patreon viewer question of the week. And this isn't that much of a question, but we are going to need your help. So Petite said on Patreon, the other day I was looking for a playlist on Spotify with songs about ecology, and I couldn't find any, so I made one, but it only has 2 songs so far. The 2 I could think about on the spot, but I hope you would get your own. I can't wait to discover your song suggestions. So I kind of went a little overboard. I started my own Spotify playlist.
How many could you come up with?
I came up with 40.
Wow.
But I mean, I went all directions. I got Metallica on there. I've got, it goes from the whole spectrum. The link is down below. Contact us if you want to add some more songs to it. Now, can other people add to a playlist, or do they have to start their own?
We could make it.
Can we open it? Oh, okay. So we'll make this public so that you guys can add your own suggestions. Anyway, any song about the earth, the environment, ecology, electric, whatever, I think would be cool to have.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for Supercharger reviews. Take it away, folks.
Hey Zach and Jesse, this is Elizabeth in Los Gatos at the new Supercharger located right off of Highway 9 and which is also called Los Gatos Saratoga Road. So it's conveniently located just right behind, in a parking lot right behind a Starbucks. There's a Petco, Safeway, and lots of different restaurants right behind it. But also you can just walk a half a block and you're in downtown Los Gatos. So fabulous restaurants, lots to do for you to charge up and have a great time. So there's 12 stalls. There's also 4 stalls that are just for other different kinds of electric vehicles. And it's really conveniently located also right off of Highway 17. So it's a great supercharging option for you. Thanks for your podcasts and your great YouTube channel. Keep up the good work.
Hey, Zach and Jesse. This is the Supercharger at Keystone Crossing in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It is a 6-stall. As you can see, myself and my Model 3 mid-range are the only ones here at the moment. The hardest part of this Supercharger is finding it.
The Supercharger is located between these 2 strip mall buildings. Restaurants in the strip mall include a Panera Breads, Cold Stone Creamery, Noodles & Company, and a Subway. There are a few other stores here, including a Sport Clips if you're in need of a haircut, and a MacMan if you need computer or cell phone repair. Across the road is Buffalo Wild Wings, and just over the next hill is Eau Claire's Oakwood Mall. The mall is perhaps a quarter-mile walk or so. In addition to the ever-present mall food court, you'll find a Caribou Coffee, Chipotle, Culver's, Olive Garden, Jimmy John's, and the Who Hot Mongolian Grill. If a 10-mile side trip fits into your schedule, you can drive up to the Liney's Lodge and take the tour of the Leinenkugel's Brewery in Chippewa Falls. There are no good Wi-Fi signals available in the stalls, but the nearby restaurants do have guest Wi-Fi. Given the wide array of amenities and subtracting for the difficulty of finding this location, I give it a 9 out of 10. Now you know.
Hey guys, this is Stuart out in LA at another Supercharger review. This time we are at the Manhattan Beach, California location. It is a 12-stall urban supercharger that is a 72 kilowatt capacity. There are also 8 Cedar Creek DC fast chargers available for other EVs. Local amenities are that it is located next to the Northside Macy's store. There's Apple and other shopping. We also have a California Pizza Kitchen, Islands and Corner Bakery, Down the road, there is also an ArcLight Cinema for entertainment. Overall, I give this Supercharger location a 9 out of 10. Thanks, guys.
Hello and welcome to the 6-stall Tesla Supercharger in Worthington, Minnesota. There's now a large Hy-Vee within walking distance. We're just kind of in the back of that. The Superchargers are located in the back parking lot of a Ground Round restaurant and right near a Holiday Inn Express. McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, Subway, and Perkins are also nearby. So there are some dining options in the daytime. Not a wide variety, but not bad for a rural community. There's also a Walgreens pharmacy and Holiday gas station and convenience store within walking distance. The Hy-Vee is open 24 hours a day, so a good place to get groceries, snacks, coffee, or use the restroom overnight. The Superchargers are right off the highway, but a little tricky to find. If you know it's behind the Ground Round restaurant and use Tesla's navigation, you shouldn't have any trouble finding them. We stopped at this location twice on our trip. So if you're traveling overnight, keep in mind that Worthington is much more alive in the afternoon than at 1 a.m., especially in the winter months. The Hy-Vee is close, but if they're the only thing open and there's 3 feet of snow on the ground, it's going to be a tough, cold walk. It's 6 stalls, 1 pull-in, which is the one we're using right now. Not a lot to do in Worthington in the middle of the night, but enough that you can get your basic needs met.
Wow, it's so cool. We have so many reviews. We're just like, we're just showing you like a smattering of them.
Yeah, and if you're just new to the channel, you might be like, well, how do I get my review in there? First of all, we'd love to have them. So go out to a Supercharger or a destination charger, shoot it, and then go to our website. So now you know channel.com/supercharger reviews. And we've got a little thing you upload. It's real easy, 2 seconds, and then it's there for everyone to see.
Right,
and we take some of them and put them on the show. So what do we got for new Superchargers this week?
All right, number 599 in the USA is the 8-stall in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
The 10-stall in Ningbo Hung Tai Plaza, China.
Number 243 in China, the 6-stall at the Zhangzhou Zhangjiang building in China.
And number 432 in Europe, number 1433 in the world is the 8-stall at La Laitier-les-Bains, France.
Sorry, French people, for the pronunciation.
And maybe I nailed it. You never know.
Yeah.
Now remember, Jesse, that Be Free is businesses for rewarding Elon employees. And you might be sitting there going, what are they talking about? A few months ago, a wonderful doctor in Northridge, California said, hey, I will give free chiropractic to any Elon employee. Are there other businesses that want to do this? And we're almost at 100. So help us out. If you've got a business and you want to give free stuff or discounted stuff to Elon employees, go to our website. It's right here, and upload your thing. It takes 2 seconds. You'll get some free promotion out of it, and you'll be helping Elon employees.
Right, and Elon employees, please check out the thing, because there are almost 100 businesses ready to give you discounts.
Yeah. So for a past video, what do we got this week, Jess?
We have the first episode of Mind Walk. Quite a few of you have checked it out already, but not all of you. What was Mind Walk? Because you came up with a lot of this all on your own.
Yeah, I've been giving a version of this talk to my interns for years. So we have interns that work for us, and I actually did this because it's so much work every year to give the same speech. It's kind of like one of teachers know what I'm talking about, right? You kind of do the same lesson. So I was like, if I make it once, I just make them watch it, and then we'll have to do it again.
And you actually produced it, so it's actually almost more fun to watch than just sitting there with another person in front of you.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time. It's taken months to make it.
Yeah, so please go check that out.
And there's 3 more episodes coming.
When is the next episode
So
coming?
every Thursday, the second, third, and fourth episodes will come out, and
goodness.
it'll tell you exactly how to do this whole plan. And hopefully it works for you. And I really would like to hear from people if you think it works, or if there's something I can tweak about it, because the whole point is to help people.
Right. So people who are new to the channel, by the way, Tesla Time News on Monday, In Depth on Tuesday, Tesla Model 3 Tip of the Week on Wednesday, and now we have Mind Walk on Thursday
for a miniseries. Yeah.
So you can kind of pick and choose. You don't have to watch everything, but we have a lot of content coming out.
We try.
If you want to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button, because there's a lot to keep track of.
All right, it's time for our Patreon giveaway.
It's the Patreon giveaway.
So this big hopper that Jesse's about to pull a name out of, you get your name in there by being a Patreon, and for every $1 a month that you give us, you get a card, so it increases your chances to win. And this week we're giving away Elon's Musk, and it's made, Jesse, with real Musk. And this is from our friends at Evanex. So, I mean, what a wonderful place to go if you need anything for your Model 3, S, or X. They've got all sorts of cool stuff.
All right.
Who's our winner?
Winner is Stephen Fell.
Congratulations, Stephen. We'll be sending you some Elon's Musk. All right, so you made it to the end of another Tesla Time News, and I just want to talk about Dashlane for a second here, Jesse. Dashlane is this company that's sponsoring us. I used to have my passwords in, you remember, basically little pieces of paper, the same password for every site in the world. Like, I came up with so many strategies. And then when I learned about Dashlane, I said, well, I'm not going to let them sponsor us until we both try the software.
Yeah.
So I've been using it now for well over a month. And I just want to tell you a little story that happened to me. I was in LA for the Boring Company party. And at the hotel, first night, everything was fine. I got onto their Wi-Fi. Everything's great. Next night, I go to a website and it says, this has been hacked. Our Wi-Fi has been hacked. I ignored it, to be honest. And I tried to keep going. Got home a couple days later, found out I was hacked. They had gotten the password for one of my accounts. Luckily, it wasn't that important account, but I was hacked. And I realized that with Dashlane, if you get the premium version, you get what's called VPN, which is a virtual network that you can go onto. So if you're at an airport or hotel where you're using Wi-Fi that's not your own and you don't know if you can trust it, you go onto their virtual network and it's completely safe.
Oh.
So, I mean, I was just thinking of it as a place to do passwords.
Right.
But it's actually much more than that. They have dark web monitoring. So, you know, there's the dark web, which I don't know how you get on it, but they sell like your information on it. They go on it and see if your stuff is being sold on the dark web.
And then they alert you.
And then they alert you so you can change whatever you need to change. Like, I know it's stuff we don't want to think about, but
it happens.
It happens, and it's nice to have Dashlane because they take care of it. So that's awesome. The other thing you might be noticing, Jesse, is that there's all these names that are passing by.
Oh, yeah.
So these names that are going by are people who give us $5 or more a month on Patreon. Now, to get your name on here, we first have to do a shout out for you. So you might be thinking like, it's been a while and I haven't heard my name. It's because we're a little backed up. We've increased the number of names that we're doing shout outs to catch up. And so we're getting there. I think we're at like mid-August. So if you've given, say, in September or October, we haven't gotten to you yet, but we will soon. And then your name will be up here on the end credits for as long as you want it to be. So that's why they're floating by you, because they're special people. They keep this channel going. Look how many people there are.
Yeah, it's really, really important. You know, I talked a little bit about this in the Patreon bonus story, but when we started this channel, we were paying for editors, and we were paying for all of our camera equipment and everything straight out of pocket, and it was not sustainable. We were not going to be able to continue that for very long. And in the back of our minds, we were thinking like, oh, YouTube. You know, we hear about all these people getting rich on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll get rich.
Oh, well, we won't get rich, but we'll make enough money to pay the editors.
Well, especially since, I mean, our subscriber numbers go up nice and steadily.
And our viewership has been going up nice and steadily as well.
But guess what? Our viewership goes up steadily, but YouTube income is flat.
It's pretty flat.
In fact, it's actually kind of heading down.
We've really never been... If we were waiting for YouTube revenue to, like, you know, cover all of our editing costs, we would still be waiting. It hasn't happened, and the only reason that we're actually able to continue this is because of our amazing, super wonderful patrons.
And can I just say also who's amazing? Brent and Bobby are amazing. And also Matthew, who's basically our newest employee, and he's going to be heading off to college soon. They come in bright and early in the morning, sometimes as early as 4 o'clock in the morning on Mondays to get the show edited so it can get out to you. They work their patooties off, and they put in so much effort and creativity to make the show what it is. Without their work, this wouldn't be a show.
First of all, it would take 4 hours for you to watch. I mean, how long have we been sitting here? Like 3 hours? I think we started. Yeah, it's been.
I think the sun was still
been almost 2 hours of us just sitting and talking and screwing up and saying like, oh, and so this is good. I meant to say Tesla or whatever. And they have to go and cut all that stuff. So they do that.
Right.
And then they add the interesting stuff, the you know, the graphs and the graphics and the funny bits where my face is on someone else's body and you know, all that kind of fun stuff. They do that. So huge shout out to them. Make sure to thank them down in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Now you know.